Hi everyone. My name is Cecilia. I am a senior at Shadyside Academy, which is in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. This is my fourth year at Shadyside Academy, and I'm actually a boarding student here. My home is in Los Angeles, so I'll be going back home. Well, like not home exactly, but I'll be going back to California for college, so very exciting. So obviously I applied to Stanford University during the restrictive early action stage, and I was very glad that I got admitted. And specifically, I applied for biomedical computation, which is what I'm planning to study. And this is my fourth year working with Interface. Had a really nice time here. And then aside from, being a STEM girl and being a good student in the school and all of that, I'm also a music composer and an art and writer, which I will talk more about it during this meeting. Next slide. Okay. So why did I choose interface? I actually heard about it through my mom's friend. I think it was like before my freshman year. My mom has a really close friend. Her daughter, she's a grade above me, and she worked for Interface for also all 4 years. But then they really recommended us to try it out, and we are like, sure, why not? So we did decide to like speak with some of the interface counselors, and at that time, I could feel that Interface has an outstanding support team, and obviously very professional. And this is eventually what I decided to choose Interface, and that's definitely a really good decision made by me. I think that Interface offers holistic counseling and really respect my opinions. They will never, like the counselors will never force me to do anything which I don't like. And essentially, like, I think my time at Interface is generally like a really good experience, and very glad that I chose to work with Interface. And then prior to the application cycle, so obviously I joined Interface when I was a freshman, so I worked with all my counselors a lot, like before like college application started. So I was in a Jumpstart program when I was a freshman and a sophomore. So at that point, my counselor at the time helped me find summer activities. So I was enrolled in Penn pre-academies, pre-college programs, specifically the math academies. I also did Michigan Science and Scholars, where I took a class that is about the intersection between like math and music, which is super cool. And I knew about these opportunities from recommendations of interface counselors, and I was really glad that I went to those summer programs because they're generally just very nice experience. I learned a lot, and it was really fun. And then apart from finding like summer activities, definitely my counselor having helping me finding like a direction that I want to pursue in college. So before, well, like when I was a freshman, I knew that I like medicine. I also know that I like math, but I never thought about pursuing an interdisciplinary field between these two subjects. But then eventually, like as I talked more with the interface counselors, they really inspired me to go down this path. And I'm super glad, and this is what I'm planning to study. So I think Interface did a really good job in helping me to realize my potential in this interdisciplinary field. And also, interface counselors check in with me regularly, like very, very, very consistently to make sure I'm on the right track, both academically and mentally. And I would say that something I really like about my counselors is that in every meeting they will ask me if I have been sleeping well, if I've been eating well, if I've, having being too harsh on myself and all that. And I think the care from the interface adults also really make sure that I'm in a good place, both academically and mentally. And then obviously during the application cycle, which I've just gone through, it was obviously a little stressful, very busy, but I got so much help from the interface. And here's like a list of the major things that I think interface helped me with. So at the like prior to the application cycle actually started, so before the summer of my like before my year started, interface counselor assisted me in researching for specific college programs that combine math and medicine, which, as I mentioned before, this is what I'm planning to pursue in college. And obviously, not every college had this in the interdisciplinary program. So like my counselor really helped me in researching of like which of the like the top, let's say top 50 schools have excellent math and medicine programs. And then they also helped me to solidify a college list. I didn't end up applying to all the college on my college list because I got into my REA school, but I had a very comprehensive college list. I have like 15 colleges on my list, and it's like a good mix between reach and target and safety schools. And I was very satisfied with the college list that I had because I knew that I would be willing to go to any school on my college list. And without doubt, my counselor helped me in brainstorming and drafting essays for both my personal statement, which is like the big common essay, and also all my supplementals. They were like huge help. Like I can literally show them every draft that I have, and they will have so much comments for me, so much feedback for me to make sure that I'm on the right track. And then my counselor also helped me to hammer out the activity list, which we did all the way back in summer, so that I was not really doing too much stuff after the school year began. And like I said in the previous slide, my counselor also gave me a lot of mental support, which is truly very appreciated. So I had Dr. Tudiko as my counselor, and then I really enjoyed working with him. He had really high standards on me, and then he like expected me to let's say for this like essay like finish the draft in 3 days and then turn back to him. And obviously, when I was a senior, when I had like so much stuff to do, it was a little challenging to me. But he had very high standard on me, and he made sure that I am on the right pace of finishing my essay. So they really helped me to keep me on track to make sure I'm not falling behind. And in hindsight, that saved me so much anxiety or stress from not finishing the essay on time. And then he also had a really fast turnaround time. He usually like returned my essays within like I guess like 2 or 3 days of my submission, so I can, have him look at my essay multiple times before submission. And then he will also give like holistic feedback. So it will not just be about, grammar issues, like sentence structural issues. He will also like look at it in general, whether my tone is fine, whether the structure of the essay is fine, whether it's cohesive, and all that good stuff. And Dr. T is definitely very honest. There's no sugarcoating or anything. He makes sure that, he gets his points across and makes sure that I personally understand it, which is obviously a really nice trait for a counselor to have. And he's very responsive to any concerns or worries that I have, and like genuinely towards like in my senior year, because I was like so sure about everything I'm doing, because he's really super responsive to any of the concern or worries that I have. Like I feel super secure about my whole application process, which is honestly a very good mental state to be in. And then here's like just a rough timeline of what my application cycle has been. So in March during spring break, I started doing a college tour. I think I visited 6 schools in the span of like a week or so. So definitely I was being very, very efficient. But that really helped me to get a better understanding of the schools that I was touring, and it helped me to figure out the schools that I would not like to go. And like all most of the schools actually made it on my college list. And as I was touring, I began to really like some of the schools on my list, which is definitely like super helpful to know beforehand, so I don't have to stress about it later on. And then in June, so obviously from March and June, like I did a lot of like writing exercises, but June, like early June was the time when I really started to solidify the college list and starting my personal statement. So I remember in like the start of June, I was already sure of like here are my top 10 schools on the list. Here are the 10 schools I will definitely apply to. And then I had like a couple of schools that are kind of like on my wait list, quote unquote wait list, because I wasn't sure if I was gonna apply to, but they're just kind of on there. So I was starting to like crafting college lists, which will be refined later on in the process. And then I also started brainstorming my personal statement. And August 1st, which is like shortly after, it's only like a month afterwards, which was the deadline of the rough draft of the personal statement. So in the entirety of July, I was quote unquote locked in on my personal statement for the entire month. Like aside from the other activities I'm doing, I made sure that I was, doing my brainstorming my personal statement every night. I was writing something down every night. And then I'm made sure to meet the deadline of August 1st. And at that point, my essay was already at a pretty good shape. And then just like a couple of weeks later, I was completely done with personal statement, well before the November 1st deadline of my early action schools. And that was also the time where I finished all my activity list for both the common app activity list and the UC. So that also like took my minds off from all these things, which is super nice. And then just a month later, at the end of September, I was done with my Stanford supplementals. Stanford actually does have three like long essays and five short responses, so they definitely took a while to finish, but I made sure to finish them by the end of September, so I wasn't rushing anything. And October was just a supplemental essays for the other EA schools. I applied to, I think, like five other EA schools. Obviously, I started all of those essays like before October started, but I spent October mainly worrying about these essays while trying to finish all the schoolwork from school because, it was midterm, very stressful, but I was very glad I got through those. So I'm sure everyone will be very curious about my activities at this point. So I'll just briefly talk about them in three different sections. The first one I'm going to talk about is STEM because that is the area that I want to pursue. So STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and math. I definitely consider myself as a very mathy person. And I did a lot of math, science, biology, chemistry, those type of things throughout my high school career. So I did 3 years of competitive science Olympiad. My school has a really good team. We're kind of like national level. So I've been competing with my school for the last 3 years. And I was a regional winner for many of the events, like Codebuster, Wind Power, and a lot of other events. And I was also the Pennsylvania State top four in Codebuster. And I really think that these added on to my essentially it helped the admission officers to see my credibility in the STEM field. They would know obviously from the awards that I'm very qualified to study in STEM in college. And I think that I had a really fun time. I learned a lot of things. And I really enjoyed, doing all these competitions with my friends at school. I also did 2.5 years of science research, and I participated in some of the local science fairs. I did PJES, which is a Pennsylvania State Science Fair. I also did the Pittsburgh Regional one, which is PERSEF. I mainly did computational medicine, so that was also a big STEM commitment that I had throughout my high school career. And then aside from doing STEM, I have a life. I do music. Music is something that I've been doing for most of my life. I've been playing the piano for like years at this point, and it's something that I'm not really doing out of obligation, but out of my interest. I am a classical composer. I've been composing music for 3 years. And because I'm like so invested, essentially in composition, in junior year, I decided to start a composer club at my school, which turned out to be a huge success, which is maybe not something I was anticipating at the time because, club engagement sometimes do like decline over time, but my club actually does have a lot of interest, which is super nice. But like here in the right-hand side, you can see some of the pictures that I took or my friends took of me either performing with my composer club members at my school's concert or here in the right-hand side, here's like me and my friend at a club fair advertising for my club. So Composer Club is something that I spend a decent chunk of my extracurricular time in. We did a lot of concerts in both the school and also outside of school, like community-based concerts. And that's something that earned like recognition, like basically across my community. So aside from Composer Club, which is obviously a really big deal, I am also part of the musical at my school. I was in musical for actually 4 years, and then I did my last musical performance, I think 2 weekends ago. Very exciting. We did Anything Goes, which is a great musical, and I was the lead piano for the past 2 years. So definitely a lot of responsibility, but I really enjoyed that. I'm also part of the jazz combo and jazz ensemble at my school. It's actually like a really cool organization to be in because we perform in a lot of famous places like the Falling Waters Museum, which is like a super famous museum just like 15 minutes south of Pittsburgh. And then as in terms of my honors, I got like composition state honors, so like Pennsylvania state honors. And then I got musical regional awards for like playing in a musical, like being the lead piano. And I also submitted a music composition portfolio to Stanford, which I do think helped me to stand out in my application. And then here are just some of the other things that I did. I classified them under community impact, but it's just like a various forms of leadership positions that I have throughout the last 2 years. So I am a dorm prefect. So like what I said earlier, I am a boarding student for 4 years, and at the end of my sophomore year, I applied to be a dorm prefect, and I got selected. So this is like also a big like major time commitment during my time in the dorm, like from like let's say 6 p.m. and afterwards. So I am on duty once per week for like the entire night. So like from 6 p.m. to let's say 11:30 p.m. Like that's just all me. I'm the student leader. I'm in charge of the dorm at that point. So it's obviously a little time consuming, but the responsibility that I had really pushed me to become a better leader and a better person in general. And aside from being on duty one night per week, I also plan activities and undergone prefect training and all of that. I saw a chat question. I will address it like after the presentation. And I also received multiple school honors, like, like best border prize, things like that. Last year for all my commitment in the dorm. Yeah. And then aside from that, I'm also a writing center co-director. So basically, I'm a leader of a peer touring writing organization at school. It's pretty high commitment. It's also application based. But essentially, like we have like 30 kids who are very qualified to provide writing help to like essentially younger kids at the school. Because my school is actually really good on humanities, and we like each one of us is writing like 4 essays per semester, 4 or 5 at least. So like the demand for having writing help is very high. But basically, I'm the co-director, so I organize a schedule for the writing scribes or like peer tutors to help our younger generation of students for them to become better at writing. I'm also a math department associate, so basically, I'm one of the representative in the math department. So I help bridge the gap between faculty and students in terms of math courses. I send a lot of surveys where I collect responses and I see things from a student perspectives, and then I would translate it to the faculty to let them know what the students think about math classes and what could possibly improve, let's say in the course planning, all of that. So these are definitely um, super what's a good word? Like all my activities are just like sorry, I'm just blanking out. Were like super helpful in terms of my growth as a person. And also I really enjoy doing all of them. Yeah. And then at the end, I want to leave out some tips for all the students and parents. These are more geared towards students, but of course, our parents are welcome to just listen to some of the tips that I have. So the first tip I have is that regular out course difficulty like matters a whole lot. And then I'm not gonna say this is my opinion, but I heard from some of my counselors that sometimes it even matters more than the GPA. And this is something that I really, do feel like it has a point as I've been taking like 500 level classes in my school for almost every subject I'm taking for the last 2 years. And I really think that having a good grade in the hardest class at my school really helped me to stand out in the application process because not everyone can, let's say, get an A in the hardest class offered by my school. My second tip is to do activities that you actually enjoy. So music composition is something that, like I said before, I'm not really doing it out of obligation, but out of complete interest. And quite frankly, before junior year, I never thought about putting this on my application process, but I ended up putting it on there and ranking it like pretty high on my activities because I spent so much time doing it. But anyways, my point is, when I was literally in the trenches of junior year, when I was having such a hard time keeping up with academics, I spent so much time doing music composition on the side, and especially composing music helped me feel better like mentally, and that was really one of the big reasons why I survived junior year. I think without music composition, my mental state would definitely be a lot worse than what it was. My next tip for, I don't know if there's any rising seniors in the chat, but start your essays early, especially for your personal statement. Like, please finish this before your senior year first semester. So, like, please finish it before the end of August or start September, whenever your school starts. I remember that I went into the last semester, so first semester of high school, having my personal statement done, and I was like feeling super good about my application while a lot of my friends are trying to put them together like really last minute. And that was just a lot of stress that was unnecessary. Like you could have totally done it during summer. So I like this is like the one tip I have. Like please finish this over summer. It'll save you so much mental trouble. My next tip is to take time to relax and spend time on hobbies for the sake of your overall mental health being. Like literally during break time, like Thanksgiving break on my senior year, I told my parents like, please do not mention any college application related things. I just want to take a week off from all of these. I think that a lot of stress are really unnecessary because I'm very motivated. I know what I need to do before a certain period of time, and I don't really want like outside influence to really affect my let's say my judgment. And then aside from this, like I do a lot of extracurricular activities that I actually didn't end up putting on the college list. Like I played varsity girls ultimate frisbee because I thought I would quote unquote touch grass using like Gen Z language. I thought that this is a good time for me to get my daily dose of exercise in during the spring semester, and like truly that really helped me to, feel better because like when you're out there like running like on the grass when it's like let's say 70 degrees Fahrenheit outside, it really helped you to feel a lot better than life. Like life is no longer just in the classroom. So I do really suggest like finding a hobby or two that you really like doing and just like keep on doing that throughout high school because I think like, mental health is so important. You can't afford to let your mental health go downhill if you want to be successful let's say during the college application process. And then my next tip is don't blindly take suggestion from people who don't know you well in terms of college application. So, as an Asian American growing up, I definitely heard a lot of voices around me. Like, if you want to get into Stanford or any Ivy Leagues, you need a perfect SAT and you need to take like 15 APs. And I want to say from my experience, I do not have a perfect SAT and I didn't take 10 APs. So all of these are not necessary. Like context is what matters the most. And for example, for my school, we only offer AP in three subjects. Even though a lot of our hardest classes are literally harder than APs, but we only have APs in three subjects. And then interface counselor told me that there's no need of taking, let's say, extra AP exams outside of school, so I didn't. So I only took two AP exams and take my third one this year. So I'm just saying here now, like you shouldn't take suggestions from people who don't know you super well. You should do the best in the circumstance that you're in. And then my very last tip is to be genuine in the college application process. So make sure that your activities and essays are accurate reflections of you are as a person, and make sure that you sound like who you are in your essays. And some of the feedback that I got from my admission officers from Stanford is that I sound super genuine in the application process. And that was what I believe to also help me stand out in the application process. And I know that was my last tip, but just another like super, super final tip. Please don't compare yourself, especially for students, with your peers. I think that everyone, especially like you and your peers, are probably doing things that are drastically different, even though you're in the same setting. And I think comparing yourself with other people in terms of stats or extracurriculars really would not help you to gain confidence in the process. So like my suggestion is to don't compare yourself with others. Just make sure that you are doing your best in everything. And I think this is the end of my presentation, and I'm open to address any of the questions I have. So I think I'll just go over chat. Um, should I just do that? And the next question is any suggestion for biology medical related matrix applications? So I like a big feedback I got as an Asian girl is that there are a lot of Asian girls applying to the biomedical field, which is I guess just a trend now. That's not something that you could avoid if you do plan on studying biology during high school, sorry, during college, but I would say something that you could do is that you can find specific activities that you're into, which really set like to make sure that you're different with all the other applicants throughout high school. Like make sure to do them. So I did like very specific things. I did like math and medicine, which is kind of not entirely biology, but also like math related. So it's more like computational bio stuff. And I think like because it's something that not a lot of people are doing, like it was able to set me apart from the crowd as I was able to do them to a pretty high level. Yeah.